I'll bring in Chairman Afreh from the Stop TB Partnership Ghana. He's going to speak about diagnostics and treatment. What do you want to see? What do you think is missing? Mayawa even alluded to the fact that already the microscopy should be something that should be phased out because it's over 70 years using microscopy. So you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Greetings from the communities of Ghana. Chief, thank you so much for the opportunity to make a statement on this. Diagnostics and treatment, I think it's actually apart from talking about financing TB, it's the business of TB is about diagnosing people and treating them. And if we look at the statistics that are coming up so far, continentally and coming down to our own country levels, it's clear that access is an issue. And if we're going to go for a strong political declaration, then we need to look at coverage. How many districts do you have in your country, and how many of these districts are having diagnostics facilities? It's critically important. How many? It means that we are going to be talking about facility development. We are talking about decentralization of structures of diagnosis. It's also called for human resource that must be decentralized enough to the lowest level of our communities. And therefore, we need to make sure that there's a sound commitment towards expanding coverage of diagnosis. And if we are going to expand coverage and be effective, it means that we also need to, of course, be doing away with the microscopies and focusing on the latest and the finest ways of, smartest way of finding TB from the laboratories. And this brings to mind the children being diagnosed. In Ghana, for example, we have close more than 5% of diagnosed TB patients being pediatric. Now, what it means is that a lot of children are suffering from TB. And if we are going to end TB indeed by 2030, and we're having so much of children on treatment, it means we need to get more sensitive at the diagnostics tools. But we all know children are not able to produce sputum, and therefore we can't even be talking about a gene expect for children pediatric diagnostics. So we need to make sure government invests in newer molecular technologies that can ensure children have access to TB diagnosis. So, talking about this, you can't do away with financing a sputum collection and transportation systems. If we are going to be able to reach the lowest people, and then also the hard-to-reach people, what it means is that we need to begin to get interested. Government needs to begin to get interested in a system that transports sputum, so that one, we can cut down the catastrophic cost that it takes patients to get into knowing their status that they are TB positive. And so if we are going to be talking about sputum transportation, it means we are also talking about building human resource that is able to go to hard-to-reach communities to be able to collect this sputum. And you don't walk with the sputum. You need to be able to use some bicycles, some motorcycles, or all other means that we have to adopt in the various settings that are applicable to the road systems that we have in able to reach more of the communities that are not being reached. And this cannot be done if we are not financing civil societies and communities into undertaking this. It means we need to make sure we build a strong civil society and a strong communities of TB systems that are able to produce a supportive operational system that bridges the gap between the health facilities and government level, and then the communities of human beings that are living with TB in very hard-to-reach homes. Now this diagnosis can't. In fact, the biggest challenge we have had in Ghana is logistics. You wouldn't be surprised that because of shortages of sputum containers, because of shortages of cartridges of the gene expert machine. Sometimes because of the broken down air conditioning in a laboratory, the gene expert machine cannot even work. So we need a strong logistics management system that will prevent shortages of the tools and shortages of the logistics that are needed across the TB care cascade. So we are able to run a strong, uninterrupted diagnosis TB system, or TB diagnosis system. And this also means that we need to ensure we have a strong data management system. If we are going to be able to know where we are at every point in time, the people we are diagnosing and the people we are putting on treatment, we need to have up-to-date transmission of data. Can we build a strong commitment towards building an electronic system of data transmission from the hardest to reach communities to whatever database at the district level, at the regional levels, and at a national level, where the National TB Control Program. Can the Minister of Health have access to such systems? Can even the Office of the President have access to such systems? So we are able to tell that, yes, if the President of Ghana, the President of your country wants to know how many people are on treatment as at today, he should just click a button in his office and be able to tell. You don't need a long letter through some system before you get that information. Once we are calling on political leadership, we need a system that gets the political leaders connected to whatever we are doing at whatever level at their own pace. And there is a lesson we learned during the control of COVID in Ghana. And I think I want this to be a thing that we ensure is trumpeted also within the commitment we are seeking to get. And that was operational research. We need a deepened operational research around diagnosis and treatment. How is the bacteria behaving? How is the disease behaving? What is the movement of the disease in the laboratory? What are the different types that are happening within the various human beings in the various geographic areas? We need a strong operational data which guides and helps us to be innovative in reaching out to the people we need to reach to diagnose. Of course, treatment of TB means drugs availability. And if you talk about shortages, I guess that hasn't been too much of a challenge. But of course, what it means is that financing TB drugs and ensuring that we have what we call the Global Fund, at least in my country, hasn't agreed to support the enablers packages. And so we have had a situation where civil society organizations that are finding their ways and means to finding TB cases and are living with these people in the communities have had to use their own resources to support treatment, because then you want to make sure that you support somebody to end the treatment successfully. And if government cannot help you, so you are interested in getting that done, you must invest at your personal level. And so we need not leave these to treatment supporters. Treatment supporters cannot be financing TB cure success rates. It should be budgeted for. So we need strong commitment towards treatment support systems. And these treatment support systems are not limited to drugs. They are limited to human beings who will support the treatment, and they are also extended to food and nutrition that these people living with TB must have to be able to continue taking the drugs and have a successful treatment. I will end my conversation here by saying that we hope that regular updates on TB diagnosis by our heads of state, our ministers of health, either on quarterly basis or on biannual basis will help. It's the same approach the President of Ghana adopted for COVID control. You will be there, you have update 1. Before you realize we have update 2, and the President will come and tell you that, okay, now we have so far reached out to 1,000 people. So now we have 30 who are on the intensive care unit, and he was giving us all the statistics. And so if the president of nations can be asked or can become bold enough to say we are giving quarterly or whatever space they can adopt based on their schedules, we will be becoming more accountable in getting more people diagnosed and more people successfully treated for TB. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, David. I think we decided to wear a uniform to make sure. Okay, so thank you, David. He gave a lot of insights because, let me say this, the bedrock of every TB program is diagnostics. How do you treat what you don't know? So you have to know that this person has got TB before you start treatment, isn't it? So that's the bedrock of every TB program. But most importantly, that you touched also nutrition when you talked about treatment. Often at times, we always think that, oh, treatment is just to supervise the TB client to just take the medication. These medications are cocktails of antibiotics, and they are quite toxic to human life as well. So nutrition is very important in order to make sure that the person takes that medicine. Because some of them, when they are taking the medicine, it affects them in different forms. But nutrition is very important. And he spoke about the enablers package as well. That is something that the Global Fund tried to see how we can support not only the TB client and also the caregiver, as well, because some people also out-of-pocket expenses transport the TB client to the facilities to make sure that they do not end up missing, people who are, what we talk about, lost to follow-up. So that is very important. And I like also when you spoke about countries in Africa to do a holistic inventory about how do we make sure that we utilize the existing tools that are in the system. Because if you go down to the periphery, you see that most of the diagnostic centers are just using microscopy, not even digital microscopy, but just the old type of microscopy, which is limited. When you heard Sahu presenting yesterday, Sahu talked about the advantages of these new tools. It's straightforward. It gives you whether the person is susceptible to any of the drugs. It will tell you that, because we also have this dose combination in terms of the medicine for TB. They've combined several antibiotics to one. But when you have such information ahead of time, you may prescribe a different treatment for it, because people should be treated on the person-centered approach. Individual should be, differentiated approach in terms of their treatment, not just giving a holistic treatment to everybody. And that's the only way we can move forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I think I want to conclude with agreeing with, is it Beatrix, right? Toko. Yeah, Toko got it right, because that is part of the thought I have been having, that when we meet the president of Ghana, we want him to launch the private sector
recording in progress
conference for TB funding or TB financing, and so I tend to agree with you. And every country will need to look at that. If we have our heads of states trying to populate the private sector, the mining sector, especially the mining sector, that is more of a problem to TB. And the petroleum sector, in the countries where we have petroleum, the communication sector, when the president becomes more interested in TB and begins to lead the drive, that may become more resourceful. Because in our last discussion as civil society in Ghana, it is clear that private sector doesn't seem to be interested in TB financing. And so we will need to find a way to let the NTPs become more resilient and innovative to be able to produce data in a manner that is innovative enough to attract resource mobilization. And I tend to agree also with David Name, the youth engagement. At least in Ghana, of course, all the processes we are engaged in, we are not only involving the youth, we're also involving women. And I give the credit to Hope for Future Generations Executive Director, Mrs. Cecilia Lodonusenu. She's a keen women advocate and ensures that at every point of engagement, you have the young women, you have women, and you have the youth involved. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity from Ghana.
Thank you. A round of applause. Thank you, thank you. I mean, you can do better. I want a wonderful round of applause for these panelists. And also for the people who are online, because we all contributed to this. So please, another round of applause, please. So thank you so much.